Okay, we've gotten a lot of things done in this project here. Now it's time to work on the stairs. And if we look inside our house here, let me actually select and go to see-through mode. That makes things a lot easier. We can see that we have a bottom staircase here that's represented by this ramp that I built earlier. And then we have another staircase that leads up here to the second floor by another ramp. Okay. So before we work here, we need to clear up our workspace here. We just have too much stuff here in the way, and it's going to hinder our ability because we need to work right in here in this tight space where these ramps are. And you can see we have a lot of stuff getting in our way. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select this guy here. I'm going to go to a front view, F on the keyboard to do that quickly. Let me go to wireframe view here, and I'm going to go to polygon mode. Make sure that ignore back facing is turned off. And I'm also going to turn on window crossing up here. I'm going to select all these top polygons up there, and I'm also going to select all of these bottom polygons down here. I'm going to go back to perspective view here. Okay, and I'm not going to get rid of that one or that one, mainly because the stairs are down here and I want to be able to work with that. So I'm going to keep those. I'm also going to get rid of the polygons here on this side. Don't need all of these excess polygons over here getting in my way and really making it harder for me to work than it already is. The work is already involved enough. The last thing we need is a bunch of extra stuff getting in the way, not letting us work. Okay, so I'm gonna hide that stuff. Let's go up to visibility, hide selected. There we go. That's pretty good. Let me go back to shaded view here, and not bad. Let me also select some of these blueprints. The second floor blueprint we really don't need at the moment, so I'm gonna hide that. I'm also gonna take and hide this this side blueprint over here. So let me hide that as well. And we're done with the ceiling. Let me take off window crossing up here. So I'm going to take the skylight and frame up there and the blueprint for the ceiling. And I'm going to hide that selection. Okay, and let me also hide these windows over here that we don't really need to be seen over here in our way. So let's hide that. Okay, not bad. I'm not going to turn backface cull on. Don't think I'll need it. So we probably don't need this wall getting in our way or any of this stuff. So let me go ahead and turn window crossing back on. Let me select all of these polygons right there. I'm going to go to visibility, hide selected. Okay, pretty good. I think that's going to be good enough. All right, let me turn window crossing off. Alright, so now I can work here on the bottom staircase. That's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to work on the bottom staircase down here. Okay, I built this ramp much earlier in this tutorial project. And I built it as a placeholder, sort of, just to sit here and give me an idea of where the stairs are going to go. And I could also use it to snap geometry when I'm building the stairs, okay? So there's two ways that we can build the stairs in 3ds Max 2010. We can build it the hard way, which is to model all the steps in the staircase little by little. And let's actually pull up our reference image just to see what these stairs look like, or are supposed to look like. And I pulled up the reference image here in 3ds Max, and you could see the staircase right here. Basically have a pretty simple staircase with lots of steps, as you can see. And it's pretty simple. We already have the ramp right there. All we have to do is pretty much build the stairs, okay? So that gives us a good visual idea of where the stairs go and how they're going to look, more or less. Okay, now we could build the stairs by creating the each step one by one and maybe cloning it over and over again and trying to manually place it or try to measure it in place and do all kinds of crazy, wacky things here. That would take too long and it'd be a lot of excessive work. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we could just create stairs very easily, just the same way that we created windows and doors? Well, fortunately, 3ds Max allows us to do that. If we come over here to the Creation tab, right here we'll open up the drop-down box and we'll switch from standard primitives to the last one here, which is stairs. Perfect. We have 4 different types of stairs that we can create. Now, I'm not going to create every single one here, You can go ahead and experiment in your own free time and try out these different stairs. But for example, spiral stairs, just as the name suggests, you click and drag and then drag again, and you can create these sort of spiral staircases which look pretty interesting. Okay, and it works very similar to the windows and doors that we've been working with before. Let's create a straight staircase here. And if you just go ahead and click and drag that out, you can create a straight staircase. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to create a straight staircase for our house over here. Okay. Now obviously this staircase ain't going to work, so I'm going to get rid of it. So let's come in here. Now let's create some stairs. And we're going to snap the stair creation here, the tool, to basically this ramp, which is going to allow us to place the stairs very, very precisely. So let's go back to the creation tab. We should still be in stairs. Let's select straight stair. Turn on snaps, S on the keyboard to do that. And let's go ahead and click on this vertex here and drag maybe to this one here. And then we'll go to about this one right there. And it looks like I drew it the wrong way. Okay, so it can be kind of tricky at first to get it down right. Okay, so I drew it the wrong way. The way you want to draw it is you want to get your first point right here on this bottom right part of the ramp. Get the next point over here on the bottom left side of the ramp. And then we're going to take this over to, let me see. And I did it wrong again. Let's try it again. Editor, start again in 3, 2, 1. We're going to take the first point right here in the bottom right part of the ramp. We're going to take the second point and place it over here on this side of the ramp. Jesus Christ. Let's do this again. Start again in 3, 2, 1. If I go to wireframe view here, I can see that I have a point back there. So let's do this. Make sure that snaps is turned on. I'm going to click and drag there. Then I'm going to pull this out to over here to this vertex that's down here. Now I'm going to make sure that I snap it to the top vertex of the ramp, which is up here. Okay, and I'm done. Alright, if I go back to wireframe mode, I can see my staircase has been built. Okay, now it's time to modify this thing and get it looking good. Okay, since I'm already finished creating the staircase there and this ramp served its purpose as a placeholder and an aid to help me build the stairs, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them. So I'm going to go to polygon mode. I'm going to select the ramp, the side piece and the top piece, and delete that. So now we have this gaping hole here in our house geometry, but that's perfectly fine. Now let's select the staircase here. Now it's time to modify the staircase, okay? Now down here under the parameters, we have 3 different types of staircases that we can create. An open one, which is the default, as you can see here. That's not what we want. We can create a closed, which looks closer to what we want, but is not quite there. We still have this hole down here. Or we have the box type. And the box type is going to work perfectly because, as you can see, it fills in this area right there perfectly. And you can see the staircase fits exactly where it's supposed to because we used the snap tool when we created it. Okay? Now, you'll notice that the staircase doesn't quite reach the top and leaves a little bit of a gap down here. Okay? So let's see how we can fix that. I'm going to skip all these parameters for now because actually they're pretty good. I don't have to adjust, for example, the layout length or the width because it's already been laid out by my snapping of its creation points on my house geometry. See, if I change the length now, it's going to mess it up. And if I change the width, it's also going to mess it up. So I'll just leave it alone the way it is. Okay, now very important parameters. The rise parameters right here basically are referring to steps. I know that down here it says steps, but we're gonna ignore that. This isn't talking about steps in the way that you might be thinking. We think of steps as each one of these steps that you actually step on to go upstairs. 3ds Max considers those the rise. Okay, so let's just wrap our heads around that real quick. Okay, so we have 3 different parameters here for the rise. We have the overall, the riser height, which basically means the height of each one of these steps. So right now it's set to 6 inches. That means that each step is 6 inches high. So I'm going 6 inches up, 6 inches up, 6 inches up, etc., etc. And down here we have the riser count. That's actually the step count, the number of steps in this staircase. Okay, So right now it says 12. So let's count them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we're missing a 12 even though it says 12. What's going on? That can be pretty confusing at first, and it can actually throw you off. So this is one thing we need to understand. This works kind of in a quirky way, alright? In the parameters it says 12 steps, but in 3ds Max it'll actually be 11. That's because 3ds Max considers the floor where the stairs are made to be the 12th step. So in other words, what it's really counting is the floor is 1 step. Then this one, the first step, is actually number 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 up here. So what we need to do is we need to kind of trick 3ds Max. If it's going to shortchange us 1 step, then instead of doing 12 steps, we'll do 13, and that should solve our problem, right? Okay, now we got another issue right here, and the other issue is the counter, which is set to 12 right now, is grayed out. That's because it's pinned down. You can see that with this button here. But we can't unpress that button. Well, it's kind of tricky. You have these 3 parameters, right? And one of them is always pinned down. One of them always has to be pinned down. So how can we adjust the count here? We really can't. But we can adjust the height of each step. We can also adjust the overall height. Okay? If we want to adjust the count of steps, we have to pin down one of these other 2 parameters. So for example, we can pin down the overall height. And now we have access to the step count, so we can go to 13 steps now, okay? But you're going to notice a problem. The problem is because we had the overall height pinned down, it didn't move up. What it did instead was it created 13 steps in the same overall height, which is 6 feet. To compensate, it automatically lowered the height of each step from 6 inches to 5.538 inches, which is not what we want. So I'm going to undo. So it's kind of tricky. Depending on what you do or what you want to do, you have to really notice pretty well to understand which one of these parameters you want to pin down. Okay? What I want to pin down is the size of the steps, because I want each step to be 6 inches tall. I never want that parameter to change. So I'll pin down the height of each step at 6 inches. That means that the overall height can now change and the count of steps can change. So now I'll change the count from 12 to 13. And now you notice that it goes up 1 more step. It added another step up here at the end, and it's perfectly aligned with the floor that I built up there earlier. Okay? That's perfect. And then down here what we can do is pretty simple. Down here later I can just build a floor piece from this geometry, so it's no big deal. Okay? So there we go. There's our stairs. So pretty much the stairs are done. So my stair parameters are pretty simple. It's 13 steps at 6 inches per step, going to give me the perfect staircase here that fits my house nice and tidy. Okay. Now, as far as these other parameters go, for example, stringers. A stringer is sort of this board that goes on the side of the stairs here that you can use to basically place a railing or something like that to kind of go in there, so it looks like a railing's connected to the staircase. Okay. I'm going to turn that off for now. We can also turn on handrails for the left or the right sides. They're more like placeholders than final handrails. They don't look very good, and they're very primitive. Okay, so I'm going to turn those off. We're going to take care of handrails later. You'll see how we create that in 3ds Max. All right. We also have some rail paths that we can create, which is just going to create these sort of railings here, which don't really, it's not really what I want to do. I want to create the railings myself later using another method. So I'm not going to use those options right there. Okay, so that's pretty much going to do it for the bottom stairs. I'm not going to worry again about this hole in the floor. I'll just fix that later. Just using some basic polygon modeling editing techniques, I'll fill that in very easily. Alright, so that's going to do it for this staircase for now. We have to come back to it later. For now, it looks pretty good and it's in position. In the next video, I'm going to go ahead and address the top staircase here, which is going to be a little bit tricky. But I'll show you some techniques to get around some challenges that are going to pop up and might get on our way of accomplishing our goal. But we'll get it done. And we'll do that in the next video.